And we're live, I think. I think I do that every single time I stream. I say that at the very beginning. So, welcome, everyone. Today we are talking about Thor, the very first Thor movie. We are,
that's your hammer.
as a Nerd Talk group, we are going in order of Marvel movies in release. And our most recent movie that we watched last week was Thor, the very first in his movies, his standalone movies. I mean, we'll get to our opinions, and I know Russ probably has a lot to say comic book wise, and probably has a lot of questions because she fell asleep while watching it. And
not completely.
So I'll give it a minute so notifications can go out, and then I'll say hi to everybody in the chat. I know it takes a little while for notifications to go out.
I got mine.
That's good.
Still waiting for mine.
I got your notification for the Monopoly stream yesterday.
Yeah, it's been hit and miss lately.
Yeah.
With a lot of people.
I got mine.
I'm watching you right now.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So Mike Wheeler was first, as always. Rockin' Robin was second, third, and fourth. Danny from Griswold Family Vacay. Tina from Photography. Hello, everyone. Alex Brunner, hello.
Tina, is your butt as sore as mine from sitting all day yesterday?
Baby Dreamers, what is up? Dad, what are you doing?
I'm going live.
Don't do that.
Oh,
What?
wait. He's going live on yours.
No, he's going live on Instagram.
Oh, that's right. Behind the scenes on Instagram. Check us out.
He's going live of you going live.
Wow.
I know. Isn't this like, it's like Inception?
Your camera is very blurry. I suggest you clean that because it is very blurry. Super fucking
Oh, goodness.
Oh, he didn't just do that.
Mike Wheeler.
I never licked it. That was close. Oh, man.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
What? I'm a funny guy.
Hello.
Listen, I'm the comic relief.
You're super fluffy.
I finally got my voice back a little bit. It's a little comic relief, isn't it?
I can't stand you.
Yes. So can I tell Mike Wheeler what I got?
Of course.
At Disney Springs. He just asked what I got at Disney Springs, and I'll show you.
Okay.
One
Thank
of the
you
things I got.
popping in on my first live on Instagram. Hold on a second. I gotta mic these.
So anyway, I bought this fancy little can holder. Look at it. It's from the Vera Bradley store.
Remember who you're talking to, Angie.
This is true. Well, okay, Mike. It's a little fancy can holder. Do they call it a koozie, or do we just call
it's
that
a koozie
in Pittsburgh?
There is no way that's a koozie.
It's a koozie.
No.
And it's got a little pop socket on it.
You're holding it up like Mike Wheeler can see it.
No, but I'm showing everybody else.
Describe it to him.
I told
Mike
him
said
he
it
knows
looked
what a
excellent.
koozie is.
It's got a pop socket with a turtle on it.
Yeah, and it's a koozie, and my can of soda is in it. So, well,
It's not even a can of soda. It's that horrible tasting water.
Fizzy water. Fizzy water.
Does it look cool?
You mean
This is
seltzer?
called Aha. Did you see that one yet? I don't want to pull it out because I think I'm going
Mike just texted me. He said it looked excellent.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Lady Dreamer said strange. Hi, Tina. What did I miss? Is Jeff complaining again?
Yeah,
I mean, he might
complaining
know
that I
a
had
little
too
bit
much money
once
in
I start
Monopoly
doing this
last
pretty
night.
regularly.
Complaining I didn't have I had too much money at Monopoly last night. I didn't know what to do with it all, Tina.
Yeah.
That's what I'm complaining about.
Dad, what are you doing?
Just checking to see if my thing's still there.
That's what I got at Disney Springs. All right, Kenzie, continue. I'm sorry.
So yeah, we're talking about Thor today.
Are we?
I feel like right now we're talking about koozies and pasta. So
And Mike Wheeler
I
saying that they're excellent.
Tina.
that was an intense game.
Yeah, I think we need to have a rematch
Sitting on
later.
the edge of my seat.
Absolutely.
It hurt so bad to concede to you, Jeff. Oh,
I'm sure.
Tina. And it felt so
Yeah,
good.
Lady Jammers, I really like my picture too. I think it's a very
You really know how they. If we were
well
all sitting,
created.
if you were all sitting around
well-created
that
picture.
table, you know how that game ends, right?
If we're
Somebody
all-
usually gets. If you're all sitting around the table, you know how Monopoly usually ends, right?
Yep.
Somebody
It
flips the
goes
board
flying.
and walks off pissed.
Tina said, "Great, now he's gonna gloat."
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday was intense. I'll show you what this is what happens when you play a 4.5 game of Monopoly and lose. So you have that much money transactions. You see how sad that is? Goes from 104 to 4 to 204. Like I was having a really bad time.
$4.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, so we're talking about
So tell us what you
Thor.
thought about Thor, Kinsey.
Thor is not my favorite movie. I could go through when it comes to watching the Marvel movies in order, I would watch the first Iron Man movie, the second Iron Man movie, and then not watch Thor. Because I don't really feel like I think it's more like plot important, like to look back on later on, like things are referenced and things are brought up that have to do with that movie, but not much. Like I don't know, it's just not my favorite. I don't know. I don't know. How do you guys feel about like? Would you? Like, how important do you find this movie to the watching of everything?
Not important.
You want me to
I mean,
go?
that's how I feel about
Go ahead,
Incredible
Jeff.
Hulk.
I'll tell you how I really feel.
So how do you feel?
I feel if they would have left this, the only Thor movie that I liked was Thor Ragnarok. First of all,
Yep, same.
I thought that was the best one. But I felt they could have left this movie out. All this movie did was really introduce the Thor character. It introduced Hawkeye. It introduced
Yes, Hawkeye was in it.
Salvik, and introduced you have the Tesseract, but they could have left this movie out.
Only at the end of the movie the Tesseract comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, Dad.
They could have left this whole movie out, and I don't think it would affect the MCU at all. In my honest opinion.
Yeah, Lady Jammers. Some scenes are good, and some are yawners. Like they're not very fun. This is a movie that aggravates me. I, for some reason, I'm very weird when it comes to movies. I get very stressed out. This is a very stressful one for me, solely because I know what happens, and I'm just like the entire time I'm like, Thor, please stop. Please stop doing all of the things that you're doing. You are dumb. I wrote in my notes that Thor really didn't need to go. He should have followed his father's orders. He shouldn't have gone at all. I don't think it was bad of Loki to tell what's his name to go get his father, because if he hadn't done that, they would have all died. That just really aggravated me, that entire thing. Hey, I just logged back on. I'm still playing Monopoly.
I'm surprised they're not.
Thor did a lot of setup for Coulson. Coulson aggravates me in this movie, and Coulson doesn't normally do that. Like, he doesn't normally aggravate me, but in this movie, I was like, wow, you're being a jerk. Like when he takes her, what did I wrote? All I wrote is Coulson is kind of a jerk. That is what I wrote in my notes.
He took her research. Actually, S.H.I.E.L.D. took her research.
Yeah.
So why did S.H.I.E.L.D. take her research? They thought it was value. And what was the research anyway that she was doing?
She
That's
believes
Science.
basically
she's an
basically
astro-
everything to do with Thor. I mean, everything with
Well,
the,
no.
with
her research
the
was
phenomenon.
her research basically was in astrophysics science. If you
Okay.
notice, she was looking at wormholes in the first talk they had when they come back. When they were talking to her assistant or her intern, the girl from Two Broke Girls,
Uh-huh.
Darcy.
Darcy. Yeah, she says said something about she didn't know what it was, and Selvig says to her, "I thought you were a science major." She was a political science major. She was the only person that applied for. She, so her
Being
so
a-
the field, her research is in astrophysics. So it's an astrophysics science. Probably she probably dealt with string theory, black holes, all the stuff that probably like Sheldon Cooper kind of got into. If you watched
Big Bang Theory.
yeah. So that was her research. She's a smart girl.
Okay.
And it wasn't only until they started looking at and what they seen as a wormhole, because I think she even brought up Einstein's Rosenberg theory of the
The Rosen Bridge.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it's much more than just Thor research. In fact,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she never researched Thor much at all. But what they were looking at is when they found the hammer, they know the hammer came from somewhere, so they were taking her research to go through her research.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I still didn't understand why he had this how this relationship developed with Padme or whatever. What was her name?
Padme.
That was
Basically,
Padme.
she was the only one who really helped him. I felt the relationship was rushed as well. I didn't
Yeah, it was
feel like it
weird.
was very necessary to the plot at
Right.
all. That's just
Right.
me.
Yeah.
It's basically just like she helped him get places. She believed him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Because
didn't
they
really
kind
feel
of
like
knew
it
who
was
he
relevant.
was, right? Just because of reading about it in books or something?
No, Dr. Selvig.
Yes.
Dr. Selvig grew up over there reading when he was a little boy from Norway, Sweden. That's what the mythology, great.
Okay,
the
but that's what I
mythology
mean,
grew
the
up with
mythology.
those Thor and Loki.
Got
and
it. Okay.
That's Thor, Loki, Odin. All of that
They're
comes
from Norse mythology.
Norse mythology, where you have your
Yep.
Greek mythology, where you have Hades and
Okay.
Persephone
Greek
and-
mythology.
Greek
Right.
mythology has their own. Yeah.
Then you have
Okay.
Roman theology, which is somewhat close enough to Greek mythology. That's
People
just different
don't really know
names.
there's different.
And then when you have Norse mythology, you have a whole different group of gods. And
I personally prefer Greek mythology, but I find Norse mythology very entertaining because there are a lot of stories about Thor and Loki in Norse mythology. But
and in fact, this is why I heard Thor and Padme broke up by the time Ragnarok came around, because Thor found out Padme was hanging out with Anakin, and she
Well, that's what I was wondering. Where Anakin came
Don't even encourage that,
where
Tracy.
Anakin came into all this. I'm like, but now seriously though, did
Now,
she make
what
this
would
movie
win?
after Star Wars? Did she make
Yeah.
the movies?
Yeah.
She looked
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
She looked
Yeah.
a lot older. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't believe Tracy went there.
The only reason Natalie Portman took this job was because Kenneth Branagh was the one directing it. It's the only reason. She had no ties to any of the other stuff. She didn't care that about Marvel. All it was that she wanted to work with Kenneth Branagh, the director.
Okay.
It's the only reason
And-
she's in it.
And the reason
And the reason why she's not in some of the later ones.
Okay.
the reason why she's not in the later ones, including Thor Ragnarok, is that when they were about to shoot The Dark World, the female director that directed Wonder Woman was slated to direct Dark World.
Okay.
Her and Marvel had a falling out, and Natalie Portman was still slated under contract to do it. So after they had pulled out the female director on the Dark World, she decided not to come back for Ragnarok, and in fact, if you look at Endgame and Endgame, they're using stock footage that was filmed back when she was in I think Dark World, when she was in
Oh,
that.
really?
They didn't have any live or fresh new footage of Natalie Portman for Endgame.
I think I read that she came in and just did audio for it, but she didn't do any film at all. So
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And
Interesting.
she is coming back for the next one though.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she's obviously an important.
well, and in
plays an
and in
important role.
two, I think she was on maternity leave at the time of Ragnarok as well, and so
I mean, I wasn't personally a fan of the character.
yeah.
No.
I was gonna say
Anthony
I'm waiting to get into the comic book stuff whenever you guys are ready.
I do have
Yeah.
a question for Russ.
Yeah,
But
go for
Go
it.
ahead, Jeff.
All right, hold on. As far as the movie, since Mac wouldn't let me talk about my opinion of the movie,
Yeah, go ahead.
I wasn't interrupting you. I was talking about my opinion of the movie.
I know.
I was
I'm
getting
messing.
to you.
I'm messing with you. I love you, honey.
Oh, he's back.
Okay,
She's got the power.
she's got the power.
I do.
The movie is only important for character development of Thor.
Mhm.
Right? When you see the beginning of Thor, he's a spoiled prince. You know, he
I
knows.
hate Thor in this movie.
Huh?
Kenzie.
I hate Thor in this. Like, this movie doesn't make me like Thor.
Yeah.
All it does is make me frustrated with him.
Understandable, but you need, I guess, just like Jeff said, you don't need to see this movie. You don't need to see Dark World to understand what goes on in Avengers. He could come in just like the Incredible Hulk in Avengers and completely with no backstory movies. But you got to look at Marvel's decision on this. This is third movie in the Marvel universe, right? Captain America is around the bend. Is it going to work with more than just Iron Man? They didn't start with a group movie and then move into separate movies. They started with individual movies and moved on to the bigger. If Thor: The Dark World if Thor didn't work, there's a good chance you might not have. I mean, there's a good chance it was coming. They were looking for it because they even at the end of it says tagline: Thor will be back in Avengers. Again, the chances of how much money Marvel was going to invest in Avengers really comes down to how much Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America made. Right? If they didn't make a lot of money, you don't get the good Avengers that we get. You get the average Avengers, and hopefully it gets past there. Thor, not a good movie. Very, very Shakespearean. Very high dramatic, blonde eyebrows. I don't understand how many people have blonde eyebrows.
It's a Norway thing.
It's about character development. You got to be able to look at seeing Thor become a very whiny brat who wants to have his way as a prince, and coming to the point where he can self-sacrifice for his friends and a girl he just met.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, you don't get the Thor character that you have in the later movies because he doesn't have that learning experience, that superhuman or that super Norse or Asgardian learning experience he needed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now I'm done.
regarding the movie acting wise, most of it I was fine with. There are a few, like, I wrote down that what did I write? Oh, stupid one-liners. There are a lot of really stupid one-liners in this movie that I'm not a fan of. Most of them
unless they came from Tom Hiddleston. Right?
Oh no, Tom Hiddleston's acting. The scene. Oh my gosh, the scene later between Thor and Loki where they're fighting. That acting is so awful. Like, I love Tom Hiddleston, but the way he's just like yelling, is not Loki in my opinion. Like, I just don't feel like he was really like embracing that character yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe that scene was recorded, filmed earlier on, because I know that, you know, when you're starting something, you're getting into that character at the beginning. It's kind of difficult. You're getting used to that kind of stuff. Later on in the filming, you're understanding that character more. So maybe that scene was like filmed very early on in the filming process. I don't know. I mean, that happens. Sometimes you can tell what scene was filmed very early on. And I also there's the scene in the very beginning when they're on the other planet and they're fighting, and I don't know. There are some like Thor has some very dumb one-liners, and I don't like them. And the other friends also have. I don't remember literally any of their names because they're mentioned like once name-wise.
I really think what the problem with with his cohorts, what are they called? The Brothers 3? No.
The Brothers
Warriors,
3 and Lady Sif.
The Warriors 3 and Lady Sif.
Yeah, Warriors 3, yeah.
They really should have focused on all of them together. And what's really bad is how they were killed off in Thor Ragnarok. They did not get the proper send-off of
Spoiler
Warriors.
alert!
Listen,
It's not important.
it is what it is. It's not,
So wait,
again,
it's his friends. It's Thor's friends, like the 3 guys and
Yes.
that lady.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Warriors 3 and Lady Sif.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
hi, Monarch Moments. And Dances with Goofy Adventures. I don't think I said
Hey.
hi to you guys earlier.
Hey Garrett, hey Rhonda, hey Danny, hey Tina.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have like a section of just regular notes, and then I have like some other notes that are just like me being frustrated with the movie. And a good portion of them have to do with the writing and the way that not even just the writing, like the writing's not that bad. It's more the acting. And obviously, like I said, it's very understandable because this is the first movie that they're doing as these characters. They're still getting
Okay.
used to creating those characters.
So you think there's a big difference between the Loki in the movie in Thor and the Loki that you've come to love in the future
I
movies?
think that the Loki in this movie is underdeveloped by Tom Hiddleston. He comes later on and later on. What is it? My brain. He just emulates and becomes Loki more later on in the movies. I feel like he portrays a better Loki than he does in these movies.
Okay.
Why is Oliver here?
He wants a Sour Patch Chips Ahoy. Did you see these nasty things?
These are not good.
No, they don't
look
sound good.
They smell disgusting.
They do smell
Why
disgusting.
do you have them?
Because I'm gonna eat every one of them. That's why.
We saw them at the store, and we thought it would be something different to try. They smell nasty.
They're not good.
Jeff,
Keep the
you
kids
said
away
you had a
from
question.
Yes. Okay, so in this movie, we understand that Loki is not Thor's actual brother. He is one of those ice creatures.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, the frost
I
giants.
thought, was he adopted?
No,
No.
See, this is the part you fell asleep.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was. It's explained in the movie.
I saw that they found him or whatever.
They found when they were fighting with the ice people. Odin found him abandoned, and he took him as his own son.
Right, he was adopted.
he's
Anyway.
not adopted. He was stolen.
He was stolen.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And
But-
when Loki,
But he was abandoned. You said he was abandoned.
Well,
He was going to be
abandoned.
abandoned.
army.
He was going to be abandoned as a frost giant. He was not a giant. He was the runt of their litter.
He was like a runt, yeah.
He was a runt prince. He was a runt prince who was probably going to be left for dead.
Okay.
Odin picked him up and brought him home. And
with the intention, though, of using him
Yes.
Right. To unite.
as a bargaining chip.
Right.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
But
Yeah,
my question is that the way it is in the comics as well? Was Loki an ice person? Because they don't.
Yes.
If you didn't know that from Thor 1, if you didn't watch Thor 1, you wouldn't get that from any
you
other
wouldn't.
movie at all.
Right.
They don't really reference that at all.
Right. Yeah. Do you want me to start? Because it's going to take a few
Yeah,
minutes.
go ahead.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
go ahead.
The only thing that I was going to say was regarding Loki, because obviously I love Loki. He's one of my favorites. At one point, you kind of understand why he's doing the things that he's doing, because he was stolen. He was
But he
taken.
doesn't know that. He doesn't find out
No.
he's a frost giant
Dad,
until
let
he
me
goes.
explain.
Oh,
Dad.
wait a minute. What? He didn't find out till later? Go ahead, Kenzie.
So he finds out that he's a frost giant, and he confronts his father, and he's like, "Am I cursed? What is wrong with me? I'm one of them." And his father says, "Oh, this is how I found you. I took you home, and I thought that you could help reunite and bring peace between our people." Loki gets mad because basically he was raised to be a bargaining chip. He wasn't raised for the right reasons, and it's understandable because he was lied to his entire life.
Right.
And when
Did
he
we
finds
find
out,
did we find that out yesterday, or we find that out later?
Yes.
yes, we found it out yesterday, Angie.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
It's-
I thought you said Loki
Well,
didn't know that, but we
so-
did.
He
Angie,
finds
there's
out
a
during the movie.
there's a scene
Okay.
in the movie where
I did see that. Yeah, that's why I was
Yeah.
confused.
there's a scene in the movie where they're in the vault,
Jotunheim.
a weapons
Or
vault.
in Jotunheim. He doesn't
And-
find out
No.
until he's.
In the vault,
Well,
Dad,
hang on,
that's when
I'm talking about something different.
Dad,
He finds out that he finds out that in Jotunheim when he goes to visit,
Yes.
or when he goes to talk to the king or whatever.
Yes.
But when he confronts Odin about it, and Odin tells him why he
Yes.
was taken.
Yes.
That's where he discovers that, okay, yeah, I was a bargaining chip, and that's when Odin goes into his sleep, whatever,
Odin sleep.
Yeah.
in his Odin sleep, which I'll explain that in a minute too. But that's kind of where he finds out in the movie where it all happens. So in comparison between the movie and the comics, the movie itself only took little pieces from the comics. The comics, first off, Thor is not at all the meathead that he is in the movie. In the comic books, Thor is much more responsible, much more a better prince than he is in the movie. In fact, he has a love for Earth because of his true parentage. So Thor is the son of Odin and Gaia, who Gaia is Mother Earth. Well, then when Odin takes Thor away from Earth, then he gives her to Frigga or Freya, his mother in the movie.
Yeah.
And so that's where he gets his love for Earth, because he was really originally not necessarily from Earth, but he's born of Earth. And so that's where that's in the mythology as well.
Okay.
And so the comics they played off that, okay, well, Thor really just wants to go back to Earth because that's where he's drawn to, and he falls in love with the people, and that's where they make him a god, and that's where they worship him, and that's where they learn about because Thor tells them about Odin and tells them about everyone else and tells the stories. It's almost a Hercules style.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Yeah.
But to where he just wants to be on Earth. Well, so Odin then he wants Thor to stay in Asgard and become king and be much more kingly than he is, rather than being worried about only Earth. He wants him to rule the kingdom. Well, so because of that, Odin strips him of his powers, sends him to Earth like he is, with no memory of his Asgardian self.
Oh.
And that's where he basically becomes an Earthling or a human, and he hides Mjolnir there, but it's in disguise, and it just happens that Thor stumbles across it on his vacation. This is in the first issue, by the way. and then he finds the hammer, and that's what brings his powers and his knowledge back. So it's all kind of by accident.
Okay.
So Jane, her character, she's actually a nurse in the character. So none of this astrophysics stuff, none of that. That's all made up for the movie. She's a nurse. Well, in order to hide his secret identity, Thor decides to become a doctor, and he's what's his name? I forget his name.
Yeah, it's in the movie.
Donald Blake. Donald Blake.
Right.
And which is what he goes by in the movie. They make, because remember that's kind of his alter ego in the movie. So Donald Blake. So that's kind of where he and Jane meet, and they fall in love, and so it's that earthly love. Well, then later on in the stories, in the comics, there's this is a long period, just like comics do. They have these individual stories, and they build up to, and you slowly start to meet. You learn who Odin is. You learn who Sif is. You learn who the Warriors 3 are, and they're just supporting characters. Well, so for the movies, they brought everybody together, and again, kind of squished it all together. Loki is the main bad guy in Thor, but Loki is he's basically the devil in the comics, and he is that way in mythology as well. And so in the movie, Loki is kind of played off as, he's the estranged brother or the stepbrother. Because if you notice, when they're kids at the beginning of the movie, they get along fine, and they and Loki even says that, it's not about the power. I don't care about the power. I want to be on your equal. I want to be just as loved as you are by Odin. And in fact, the whole script to me, and there's some interviews with Kenneth Branagh and with Anthony Hopkins that I read, that the whole story was changed to be more script, and more Shakespearean and things like that, and more of a father-son relationship movie than a comic book movie.
Okay.
And then they just changed it and used. Movie. Well, kind of Hamlet too, but Henry V was what I was. From Shakespeare was what I read, but so they changed a lot of it in order to make it that father-son storyline. And so between Loki and Thor and that, they just changed that, and it's just not, it does not follow the comics other than the names of the characters.
Okay.
in my opinion. And so that's where I feel like it falls short, because even with these great characters, they did not use them to their fullest until later on in like Ragnarok and and those other movies. And in fact, Dark World, when we go to watch that has nothing to do with any of the comics at all.
Oh, really?
other than a way to introduce an Infinity Stone. That's about the only way that it's been used.
All right. One second.
Yep.
Jeffrey Resendez, Amy, welcome in.
Hello.
Those
Hi,
were
Jeff.
people who
Hi,
came
Amy.
in.
But so that's kind of where, again, I think, again, it's a character development movie. You introduce the characters and that's about it to me. It does tell the basic story. The Destroyer, which is the big armor suit thingy that comes down, he is an actual character in the comics and a very strong villain in the comics.
Okay.
And a very powerful villain.
Will he be back?
About that guy.
What's that?
I love how Coulson's just like, just want to, like, someone's like, is this one a start? And Coulson's like, I don't know. He doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. Well, to me, I was not impressed. Even the humor in this compared to the others, it's just not as funny. It doesn't, you mentioned the stupid one-liners.
Yeah.
And to me, they feel forced. It's not.
No, they're very forced.
It's not as dynamic as the other movies are, and that could be because of the acting, could be because of the direction. But to me, it's just not as good. So, yeah.
I think the reason why the one-liners feel forced is it's just a different feel of a movie. If it's more Shakespearean, Shakespeare is not one-liners.
Right. It's not. It's not meant to be
Yeah.
humor. Yeah.
So to try to force a one-liner into a more Shakespearean movie, and again, would it have worked? Would it have made money? Would it have done something if it would have been like that? Who knows? Again, there's not a lot of callbacks to this movie. There's about one or two in Avengers that make for a reason of this movie. I think when you're looking at the Avengers itself, so we'll go into a little spoilers, is when they were saying why they're developing weapons from the Tesseract, and they call it back to when Thor and his brother came down to Earth to have a battle royale. So,
yeah.
Hey, Carlos, we're not talking Lego talk.
I wish we were talking about Legos.
We tried.
We really tried. The Lego store near us doesn't open until Wednesday, and they're doing curbside pickup.
Oh, nice.
So
Carlos.
we're trying to figure out how to get some Disney Legos, but we'll get there at some point. I mean, so Lady Jamer said Loki's the god of mischief. Tom Hiddleston is the reason Loki is beloved by fangirls, and I do very much agree with you. I mean, I love Loki. I feel like I would love Loki no matter who played him. I do love Tom Hiddleston, though. I'm going to tell a really quick, funny story about Tom Hiddleston. So in my English class, my teacher is very much in love with Tom Hiddleston. So I think I've told this story, but I would bring in a picture every single day, and we had a little shrine of Tom Hiddleston in our English room. We would put pictures of him around the board, and we would do that every single day until quarantine happened. But we were hoping to fill it by the end of the school year, and that did not happen. But yeah, I really love Tom Hiddleston as an actor, and I also love Loki as a character. I've always been a really big villains fan, so I feel like I would have loved him no matter who played him. Sorry, I just went on a tangent there about Loki.
So in the comics, is he an ice child?
He is a frost giant. He was born as a frost giant. So similar storyline there. Actually, in the comics, Floki is actually dead, and that's the reason why Odin takes him. So none of the stuff with using him as a bargaining chip and all that. The frost giants, they're done in the comics. Like, they've been defeated by Odin and they're done. They're not there anymore. Odin defeated them and they're gone. Now there are I think a few agents of that are still around, and there's some bad guys, but they're, for the most part, they're gone. And so that whole dynamic in the comics, Odin doesn't care about anybody because he's Odin. He's the god character. He doesn't have to care about anybody. He's got like 5 wives, and he's dismissed others, and he's got all these other kids. And in fact, in the comics, there are 3 brothers that you never hear about. Balder is his 3rd brother in the comics, and
there's also Hela too, right?
Well, Hela is the sister who comes in later too.
Yes.
And so he's got all of these different offspring from all these different women, and like I say, it's almost it's a parallel to Zeus from Greek mythology as well, who sleeps around a lot. So, but so there's that odd family dynamic in the comics, but they don't really. It's like, okay, so Thor is here, he does this, he's the god of thunder. You got Balder, he's here, he's the god of light. You've got Hela, who's the god of death. So you've got these different people that are already established in the mythology, and that's not a part of the storyline at all. Now they know each other, but then Loki is the god of mischief. He's the god of war. He's the god of just evil in the comics, and so his motivations are, he could care less about Thor. He just wants everybody to suffer because that's who he is.
He's a chaotic neutral.
you know, and so he doesn't care. So like
As
in the
long
movies,
as it benefits him.
right, right, and so that's where I'm saying, you know, in the movies they change his character so much, him more human in that sense because he cares about the relationship with Thor, you know, and that plays a huge story within the entire series
Yeah.
of his relationship with Thor. You know, because Thor is very, very much a brother to him and takes care of him, even when he does all these bad things. So
Right.
I have a feeling that we might see the true Loki nature in the Disney Plus series.
yeah, I'm
Yes,
I'm
I'm
excited
looking
to
forward to
see
that.
where that goes with his character.
What are they doing on Disney
The
Plus?
Loki series.
Oh, they
They're
are?
they're doing a Loki series, so hopefully and it's the Loki from the Endgame timeline.
Yeah.
Where he disappears with the Tesseract in Endgame. You're going to get
Right.
that Disney. So it's not going to there won't be any storylines that interpret with the main Marvel Cinematic Universe. It'll be a separate own
Okay.
timeline that so the Loki series won't have anything to do with the Endgame or after. And in fact, you're going to see the timeline for the Loki series is going to be from Avengers itself, the original Avengers. So you don't get the character development of Loki from being in the jail cell, being in Ragnarok, being in Infinity War, where he finally stands up to Thanos. So you're going to get this self-centered, true Loki who's all for himself from Avengers on. So you may have a true Loki series. Now the question
I don't
is,
think you should call it. I don't feel like calling it true Loki. That is an alternate universe Loki.
right? But
There's
what I'm saying,
I don't feel like there's a true version of any of these characters. It's just alternate versions of these characters.
but you're not going to have that character development.
Yes. How do you know
So-
he's not going to have a totally different character development?
He's going to have the character development that you're going to have totally different. But what I'm saying is
Yes.
you're not going. Are they decide to make a Loki series on the way people fall in love with Loki from after Ragnarok, or are they going to follow are they really going to follow the Loki of Avengers? Might be a different storyline. People might not like the Loki from Avengers, where they loved him, Loki Ragnarok, where he showed that he could be a brother. I mean, if we're just getting outside of Norse mythology and the comic books itself, when the general public, the non-nerd public, which I consider all of us nerds, and we're gonna like it, we're gonna watch it, we're gonna enjoy it. Disney and Disney Plus has to make money. They have to make money to the general audiences to watch something. If it doesn't appeal to the general audience, they're not going to make any money off it. It's not going to be the draw that they want.
Right.
See, this is what I think is going to happen. Nope, continue.
Okay. The Mandalorian brought in all the Star Wars nerds, right?
Yeah.
General public fell in love with Baby Yoda. They come back for Baby Yoda. Example, my wife Billy, not a Star Wars nerd, not a big fan of Star Wars. Huge fan of Baby Yoda. So the question is what do they do for Loki? What do they do for Loki to bring in that general public?
This is what I think. I think they're going to have alternate they're going to have this alternate universe Loki. They're going to have, starting off from original Avengers. But I don't think they're going to make him a self-centered jerk the entire series. They're going to give him different character development so he still becomes that caring about that kind of stuff, because I don't feel like they're going to be able to be accurate to a comic book thing, and I don't feel like they've been trying to at all. I don't really feel like they care that much about being accurate to the comics. I think they're going to have a different type of character development that is going to end up bringing in those people who. I mean, I feel like if you love Loki, you're gonna watch it anyways. That's how I feel about it.
I mean,
I'm
speaking
gonna
from the
watch
comic,
it, even if I don't.
I was gonna say, speaking from the comic book side of it, I mean, they've already gone so far away with his character from the comics that it won't matter anyway. We're going from what we've learned from the movies, not from what the comics are about. So yeah, it's Tom Hiddleston's Loki. So
and I don't think it's bad that they're not going on by the comic books, because I don't think they ever said that they wanted to 100% go by comic.
And,
like
I mean, they may introduce newer characters.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm freezing, aren't I?
Yeah,
a little bit.
It happens.
Yeah, I know.
But ultimately, and listen, we're all nerds. We love nerds. We accept nerds in here. We accept nerds in the chat. We also accept general people in the chat. So
yeah,
what we really want to try to do is we're explaining our nerdship, but we also have to have, I think Disney's not a dumb corporation. Just with everything else that they're doing, they're looking to make money. How are they going to bring people?
But any company needs to do that.
Yeah. Exactly. But is it a great movie? No. Is it a movie that you can skip? Absolutely yes. I like the movie for its certain points. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that you get to see how they chose to handle the Thor character and his development. Listen, almost all origin movies are horrible. I don't know. Does everybody else agree with that? Origin movies?
Iron Man is
to a point. Some,
Captain America is not.
That could be tough too. It gets sluggish.
We'll get into that next week because I have some opinions there too. So.
Oh boy,
I've never had any type of opinion about origin movies because I feel like it's been years since I've watched any of them. So this is kind of getting a refresher on them.
Yeah. You rewatched it, Kenzie? You rewatched Thor?
Yeah.
Okay.
We watched it last night.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going by your memory. Okay.
I'm not saying Captain America is a bad movie. I'm just saying origin movies are sluggish.
Yeah.
Origin movies can be very slow and not very.
There's a lot to.
He'll come back.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on, guys. It's just I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot to pack in for origin stories, and it's the way that people, the way they tell it, and the things they choose to use and not use that make the character for the rest of the series.
Right.
And so if they don't hit that right, then and that's hard. That's hard to do origin stories to me. I mean,
I think it's hard. I'm sorry, Ken.
No, Super Fluffy Yeti asked who was writing and directing the Loki Disney series. All I've seen is that it's being directed by Kate Herron. That's what I looked up Loki series release date, and it says directed by Kate Herron.
Well, and it's probably a similar deal as to where they're doing multiple directors because that's what they do with TV series, with television series. So it's probably I don't know who it's produced by, who the producer will be, because I don't think it might be Kevin Feige. I don't know. But yes, is it okay? So
yep.
And he's the main Marvel producer, and so he'll make sure that it all ties in with everything else, and I think it's going to be a good thing. So,
and origin movies. This is the hard part about origin movies when you're talking about comic book movies. And Russ, who's he's our comic book guy. It's tough to do an origin comic book movie when comic books reintroduce origin. Mm-hmm. They recon origins constantly because they have to recon it every once in a while to make it more to make it make sense with today's world.
Yeah, fit the story.
Huh?
To fit the
story. I mean, they're constantly changing things.
Yeah,
Hi, Rachel.
You have to.
Hey, Rachel.
I mean, I like The Watchmen. The Watchmen was a good movie to me. I never really read the comic, not the novel. the graphic novel of the Watchmen, and it's pretty much close to the original or almost shot for shot of Watchmen. They kept it in the 80s, and they kept it with what how they did it. If they were to do Watchmen in today's age, you'd have to change what war they're dealing with, what president they were dealing with. And I think that's the problem when you're putting comic book movies with so many different origin storylines. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man comes down. We know Spider-Man gets bit by a spider. How it goes on throughout the rest of it. I mean, look, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man comes with his own webs. Every other storyline that you have with Spider-Man, he develops his own web slingers. It makes a bit of a difference. You have to pick and choose of what you're doing. And when you're dealing a comic book, you're pretty much solidifying that movie and giving him that origin, unless you recon the whole storyline,
right?
Which they have done now with Spider-Man.
Like 4 different Spider-Man.
Which is basically what they did now with Thor. Is they redesigned the story to fit within the rest of the MCU,
correct,
and move forward with it. And because they again, if you have Loki who is just all evil, well, that's not necessarily a character you care to follow. It's not a character that you're going to care about, and you can't relate to. And same with Thor. I mean, Thor is the god of thunder. That's why they brought in the love interest. And again, now Jane is part of the comics, but that's why they brought her in, because she is a major part of his character. So Super Fluffy Yeti asked about Doctor Strange.
Yes,
and yes, that's an origin story too, which I love Doctor Strange, and we'll get on to the end of that when we get to there.
Yes,
but yeah, I mean,
Jeff, prepare for the questions from Ange on that.
I'm not even going to be in the same room.
We might have a 5-hour stream on that one.
Oh my goodness, Andy, it's gonna be intense. Hi, Surfer Girl, welcome in.
Hey, Surfer Girl. I wanted to talk real quick about, and I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Heimdall, because he is my favorite character.
Yes,
and the gay Idris Elba, the guy, the big black guy.
Yes,
the Bifrost.
He is a major part of the comics, a huge part of the comics. And I did not explain, Angie, the whole Odin sleep thing. So Odin basically, he, in order to rest, because he's king over everything Asgard for so long, he basically once a year he goes into hibernation, basically.
Okay.
And so when he does that, he leaves someone in charge. And so that's why he wanted Thor to be ready to be king, because he needed somebody to replace him, because he was ready to sleep. And so when he goes to sleep, that's when Loki can take advantage of it,
right.
Which is what he does. And that's where I feel like it's not necessarily that Loki was trying to get the power. I think that's just his nature. And
but didn't Odin already
took advantage of it.
Didn't Odin already send Thor away before he went to sleep?
Yes,
he did.
So he knew by sending him away that it was Loki was going to have to take over.
Well, right? But see, that's where they talk about how the All-Father knows all, and he sent Thor to Earth to teach him a lesson, which he does in the comics. He does teach him a lesson, but Thor comes back learning a different lesson, and learning, and actually becoming even better than what Odin wanted him to be. Which in a way he does in the film as well. He goes back to Earth and learns this lesson, falls in love, and comes back, and he's ready to lead. But he's also not necessarily ready to lead. He's ready to learn how to lead. And so that's, but yeah, so that's where the whole Odin sleep thing comes in. But I love Heimdall, because he is one of those that, okay, I'm loyal to my king, but yet I'm going to, he's also one that is looking out and I think he also has a little bit of Odin's power in him, because he can see everything. And in fact, in the comics, Odin lets him take over when he goes to sleep, whenever Thor's not available and no one else is there. And so his character is always been a huge part of the comics. And I just love how how Idris Elba played him. So
yeah, I think they underused him until they get to Ragnarok, and we'll talk more about just.
So he's always been a really like I've always really liked that character.
Okay.
So next week we're going to be talking
Captain America.
Captain America.
Jeff, do you think Captain America is going to make an appearance next week? Chris Evans?
You know what? I banned Chris Evans from our house because of the way he made pizza. But I think if I ask him real nice, he may come back next week.
Okay.
Just make it for nerd talk. You know, I'll let
Yeah.
him sit in instead of me.
He's probably gonna play Risk on Saturday and like take over the world.
Oh,
Risk
man.
has got to be a shorter game.
Yeah.
Anything shorter than the 5.5 hour
I just want to touch.
intense.
I want to touch on something that's not on the Marvel universe. It's a Disney Plus the series, that behind the scenes series on the Mandalorian, because ultimately when we all started up by watching the Mandalorian. That's where the nerd talk came from, and I think we
Yes.
really have to come back for that.
Yes.
If you have not been watching the behind the scenes on this Mandalorian series, it's time to catch up,
Yes.
because the latest episode 4, is
Mm.
going to change cinema forever.
Oh wow.
If you have
Yes.
not watched this, it is
Especially this last episode. Oh my goodness.
amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
man.
Tracy, I have to say we watched episode 2 yesterday, and they were like at the round table,
Right.
and they were like
Mhm.
the biggest nerds. It was so funny. I was
Right.
I was
like,
gonna say, it did.
These
It
guys
reminds
are
me
like-
of yeah.
just like us, but they're like super nerds. I said it's like us on Nerd Talk. They're all sitting
In
around talking
fact,
about Star Wars.
If you have watched the second episode and you heard Dave Filoni, who is the executive producer of Clone Wars and Rebels, and
Yes.
his talk about the Duel of Fates, broke
Yes.
down Star Wars totally different for almost
Yes.
everybody there, blew my
Yes.
mind.
Oh
I
yeah.
got chills.
Absolutely
Are
blew my
you
mind.
kidding me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I
as
feel-
far as
Oh,
go ahead,
Dad.
Pins, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna say, once obviously we'll be done with our Marvel go through at that point when Mandalorian starts back up. At least I'm hoping. Obviously we're gonna have to start back up on Mandalorian
Yes.
Right.
and talk about everything, and I'm looking forward to it. Wasn't it confirmed that Ahsoka is gonna be
Ahsoka Tano's coming in. We're
Yeah.
getting Boba Fett. We're getting
What?
a lot of good stuff. And Lady Jamers, yes, we're
Which
getting
I'm a little
Boba Fett. We're
confused
getting
by, but
Ahsoka
it's
Tano.
okay. Boba Fett makes no sense.
It's
in my
okay.
brain,
We'll
but
figure it
okay.
out.
They'll explain.
They say that they hit on Boba Fett on the Gunslinger episode. They touched on Boba Fett. That was supposedly the character's feet that we seen at the bottom of the looking at the dead bounty hunter. But I digress. The technology, and I really want to touch on episode 4. Episode 4 is going to change movie making forever.
Wow.
And if you're watching it, and what's his face there, the guy, John Favreau, pretty much
Yeah.
says this technology, it's not a technology that it's not patent for just them.
Mhm.
Other movie developers can do the same technology. It's all there. It's all for them. And once they see how good they are, listen, if they would have used what they call the volume on most of these Marvel movies, unbelievable. I think Marvel movies, if they're going to use that type of system in the coming Marvel movies, you're going to see a totally different type of Marvel movies, because the characters themselves, the actors, can interact with their environment. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
With what's coming up, I think you're going to see.
Well,
Our comic book movies, our nerd movies, our Star Wars movies are just going to get better because of the Mandalorian. Hands down. If you haven't watched it, watch episode 4. Totally blows my mind.
yeah.
Okay.
I was sitting there thinking too, how they already do the projection mapping and stuff with theme park rides, but how could that technology also play into theme park attractions?
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it's endless. I mean, it's just exciting. That's all I can say.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah, we're only on episode 2.
And
Yeah.
if they develop the technology like they're talking to, and once it's been used and and they can package it and patent it, then other creators can use it. And that's stuff that independent creators can grab and do wonders with. And so that's exciting as well. So to me, that's really cool.
All right.
So
sorry to
hey, Brian.
cut you off.
No, you're fine. I know we're out of time. So
yeah, so we just hit an hour. Really quick before everybody gets into what they've got coming up, Mike said he wants to give Amy a huge congratulations for finally being in review for monetization.
Yay,
That is
Amy.
All that late night trivia pays off. So.
Yeah, Morgan, I would also adore Mandalorian Attraction. That's my friend Morgan in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, Morgan.
Also a big Disney
Baby Yoda fan.
Big nerd.
Baby Yoda.
Big nerd, yeah. But yeah. So Russ, what do you have coming up? Yes, congratulations, Amy.
Let's see. No more Monopoly for a little while.
Yeah.
Even though it was really fun, and I'm so glad you guys got to participate. This coming Saturday, my thinking is right now that we're going to do kind of a crafts and chat like what Mama Mouse does. And I'm going to teach you guys how to make something. And so I may grab some people to come in and chat with me while I make something, and you guys can maybe follow along. Because I want it to be a little bit more craft and as much chat. But yeah, so I want you guys to follow along too. So I might talk with you guys, and then I might talk with a couple other people.
Just let me know by, and I will.
What's that?
Just let me know what craft supplies I need.
Yeah. No, yeah. And then I'm not 100% certain on what kind of video I'm going to do this week. I've got an idea, but I'm still waiting to see if something else happens. But yeah, anyway, it'll be fun. So yeah. That's it.
So what do we have coming up?
I think the biggest thing I have is repairing my relationship with Tina right now. I know that's we're a little bit like
yeah.
Do we need to have a therapy stream?
But I think it can happen. I'm going to work on finishing these off right here. This is kind of hard.
Pain when
Do not buy these. Do not buy these.
I smell them.
That's almost like the Swedish fish Oreos. That's kind of gross.
And what else do we have going on?
So
we went to Disney Springs today.
Yeah, but we didn't do it.
That's what I was gonna ask. Are you guys gonna do anything with Universal when they open?
So here's the thing. Wednesday I'm gonna go to Disney Springs with Abby when they open the World of Disney. The whole thing with Universal, Jeff and Abby are thinking about getting
annual
passes. Do you guys know? Can you just like go out and buy them, or do you have to like show up?
I don't know right now. I think you have to be there to get them, but I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, because that's the thing too. Like, do you buy an annual pass like at the time when they open it up to annual pass holders? Like, that's kind of weird.
Well,
to do that.
like I say, I think you can buy them online, but then you have to go and activate it like you're at when you're at the park.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they may or may not be doing that when they first open. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Are they going to allow that? So I don't know. We don't have universal passes right now, so I'm not sure if we're going to actually go. But I would never get one for myself and Zach. I don't think it would be worth it. If anything, maybe just Jeff and Abby, because she's such a huge Harry Potter fan.
Yep.
So, but yeah, we're going to go to Disney Springs Wednesday. We'll probably have a video on that. We have our normal, Dreaming with the Mouse on Thursday. So.
And
So, how about you, Tracy?
Well, tomorrow I think I got tomorrow is Monday. I'm just gonna hang out and mod for Kenzie, and Thursday we're gonna do Not Wasting Time. If you haven't checked out last week's Not Wasting Time, we talked a little bit of Doctor Who, and it was an awesome
You had Nerd Talk, the British edition.
Yeah.
Nerd Talk British edition.
It was
Doctor Who. And
we're gonna do Sherlock at some point too.
Oh, Sherlock at one point too. Yes, definitely.
I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, you got to get it. You got to start watching it. You want to be
so good.
And
you got to
Jeff,
understand.
It's one of those shows that you can probably just jump into in the middle.
Yes,
and you'll still be confused, but it's still good.
It's on Netflix.
Unfortunately, no, it's not.
It used to be.
Where do you watch it?
nowhere right now.
There's ways of watching it, but I'd have to tell you off stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad, is that it?
And just not wasting time. If you haven't noticed, I had a buddy here on screen today. I'm sorry, Mike Wheeler. I didn't point him out to you earlier, but I had a buddy who my screen stealer.
That's
Check out my buddy Oliver on his Instagram. Oliver the River Otter. I just dropped his link in there. He's been hanging out with me. He wanted to be on stream, so I said, yeah, he can hang out. He just got his new luggage.
We got him stuff for flying, like doll stuff. So we got him a new suitcase, and he got like
Just tell him anyway.
little toiletries, like shampoo and all that. It's very cute. It's very adorable. I run his account on Instagram. He's my brother, so yeah.
Oh, okay. He's your brother. Yeah.
Yeah, he's considered my brother.
Because I was going to ask Tracy if that was his grandbaby, but no.
No.
No. So
Can't you see the resemblance?
Yeah.
So tomorrow I have 4:30 to 5:30. I have a stream, and then I don't know what I'm going to be talking about yet. I have to think of that. I'm planning on posting a video soon. I've just been trying to get myself to sit down and edit videos. I've been trying to work on stuff. It's hard with vlogs right now because all I do is sit at home. So,
Yeah.
and then I don't know if I'll be on Dad's stream on Thursday or not, if he invites me. And then Friday, I think we have pizza stream. So we have pizza on Friday.
Right. Pizza
Yeah.
party.
We
What
ordered a
channel is that
pizza.
on?
We ordered a pizza stone.
Yeah, whose channel is that on?
Did you?
Well, it's got to be. Well, who hosted it last? Was
I
it?
think we did.
So it's Kenzie's
Yes.
turn.
Mike, I am planning on doing a tech highlight video. I just haven't been able to get the videos onto my computer right now.
That I told you. You got to talk to Jeff on that.
Yeah. So,
Gobble. Yeah.
gobble, gobble.
Yeah. Gobble gobble,
Gobble,
Jeff.
gobble.
So, thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out with us while we talked about Thor. We'll see you next week for the first Captain America movie.
And it's on my channel.
Yes, Russ's channel. So make sure you go sub to Russ so you can get and hit that notification bell so you'll be able to get notified when he goes live and when he posts. Same for everybody else here. Make sure you check everybody out because they have awesome content. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. See you next stream, next time we're in the chat. Any of that stuff.
Sounds good.
Let's
Bye,
gobble
everyone.
gobble out.